You must be careful about the words you use, or the words you allow to be used in your house. Words are things. You must be careful. Careful about calling people out of their names, using racial pejoratives and sexual pejoratives and all that ignorance. Don't do that.
It's time to talk about it.
Pull up a chair and take a seat.
We're serving up recipes for life.
With Hampton University's Dr. Richard Mason and Dr. Tamara Williams.
Welcome to the Sunday Brunch.
This is Dr. Tamara Williams.
And this is Dr. Richard Mason. Welcome back to the table for another edition of Sunday Brunch with the Good Doctors.
The good doctors.
Listen. You know, as I'm laughing, I'm just thinking in terms of, it's just been a week. How have things been on your end?
It has been a week.
Mm-hmm.
It has definitely been a week. I cannot say that it has not, but it's been an enjoyable week. It's had the ups and the downs to it, but it's been busy. Like every other week it seems in our life. It's just been a busy time.
Exactly. When is it not busy? That's the question.
Okay. I don't even know if we want to ask when we won't be busy.
Listen, not at all.
Right. But I think it does come a time. I've been watching some people, some trailblazers that have come before us. And I've been watching how people have been slowly and gracefully making their exits out of certain situations. And then I've watched even those who were before them. And I think I just want to keep running as long as I can, because I find that some people wish that people were still coming to them, or that they still felt relevant, or that they could still do some of the things that they used to. So I just thank God for the strength to do those things now.
Exactly. You know, thanking him for the spaces, you know, allowing us these spaces in which we can celebrate lives and the things that we're able to do. You know, truly it is a blessing. I take nothing for granted, you know, and so especially to our listeners, you know, surprisingly, and I shouldn't say surprisingly, but, you know, the number of people that approach me and say, hey, I'm listening to your show, I'm enjoying it and all or whatever, you know, and they really want to know, what are we eating?
Yes, indeed. I think we need to start eating a little bit better sometimes at brunch, the way that people are really interested in what we're having to eat. So I feel compelled to maybe start saying something other than bacon sometimes, even though that is my love.
Listen, exactly. But I told myself, hold still, because you know what, we may be bringing something to the community, you know, and not just having a little private table, but we do a little something to bring everybody out to the table. So I'm just stay tuned.
Stay tuned. I'm looking forward to that.
Exactly.
So we can see more of the people in one time.
Exactly. And that's the benefit, just being able to, you know, connect with more people and all, you know, and I will say this, the beauty of it all is really when people talk about what they were able to gain from listening to the show. You just never know the topics that we talk about and what people are dealing with at the particular time. And you know, one person I was explaining to him, I said, that's really how this all came about, just in terms of being able to put things on the table that people don't talk about, and bringing those things up and having those conversations. You know, this show is certainly meant to be a door opener in certain situations. And so they were like, wow, I didn't know that. I said, it's good to hear that it's actually doing what we set out for it to do.
Right.
Even though we're having a good time doing
that
it.
part. That part. I think that's why we continue to do it too. A lot of people look at it as work. A lot of people look at it as extra parts. I look at it more as extra service, but it's something that we enjoy. And also it's something that you and I do anyway, bro. We brunch anyway.
Yes.
We get together and eat anyway. The only difference is we're just inviting other people to eat with us for these sessions, and we're allowing other people to listen and benefit from just conversation. Iron sharpens iron, and it's important that you are mindful of the people that you surround yourself with and the time that you spend with those individuals. So it's
That makes a
always
big
good
difference.
talk. It's always
Yes.
good food. It's always a good time when we're together. In fact, I don't think we've ever even had an argument.
No, no. I'm trying to think, because you don't bother my bacon, you know, so I don't think there's a need.
When you know how to communicate. And that is
That's
something that we
mm-hmm,
we, we do well. So
mm-hmm.
It's a good
Exactly.
time. It's a good time. So I
Yes.
don't want to take up all of our time talking about us and what we're
Mm-hmm.
going to do. I wanted to introduce our guest today. Um, this is something that we've never done before. Like everybody knows that we work at Hampton. Everybody knows that
Mm-hmm.
we talk about our students from time to time. But I
Mm-hmm.
have never actually brought a student to the table before to have brunch with us.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought it was important to do that today because this is a non-traditional type of student. People make gross assumptions about who our students are, how old they are, where they come
Mm-hmm.
from, and what they plan on doing. And so I thought it'd be fun today to brunch with a student who
Mm-hmm.
has been in the field doing some things, has a lot to offer, and wanted to finish what she started. So
Mm-hmm.
without further ado, I want to welcome to the Sunday brunch table for the first time, and maybe not even the last time, Danielle Price. Welcome
Yes.
Hi,
to the table.
everybody.
Hello
Thank
there.
you for
Welcome,
having
welcome.
me. Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
Glad
I'm
you could be here
so
with
happy
us.
to have you. So happy to have you. And she's currently taking my parenting class. And when I met her, she was telling me that she was a parent. And so I had to stop right away because I was
Mm-hmm.
like, this is so awesome that you are interested in learning more about something that you are engaging in. That's the best type of science, anyway. And
Yes.
when we know better, we can do better. But as I started to have a further conversation with her, I was able to determine that, how she became a parent and that this wasn't her first, beginning at Hampton. So I don't want to tell your whole story, Danielle, because you can tell it way better than I can.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
tell us what made you want to be a psych major at Hampton.
So, I'm actually a liberal studies major, but I've
Liberal.
always been interested.
See, there we
Yeah,
go.
I have always been interested in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And for a long time, I feel like I didn't have the words to say or the confidence to say, hey, I'm interested in psychology, behavioral health, mental health. But the way that I think, the way that I break things down has always been through the lens of psychology, sociology, and things like that. And so when I first came to Hampton, I majored in everything but psychology, if I'm being honest with you.
Mm-hmm.
And
You see what I'm speaking ahead of you.
yeah, and I had a hard time trying to find something that actually like fit me and fit who it is that I am. And so when I originally came to Hampton, I was a freshman, 2007, a long time ago. Doesn't seem like a long time ago, but almost 20 years ago. And nursing was what really grabbed my attention at the time because it seemed like a good idea. But as life progressed and as I progressed as a woman, as a mother, I began realizing that our mental health really matters. And then
Mm-hmm.
only having our, not just my personal experience, but my professional experience validate that, I was like, this is something that I'm really interested in that I want to be able to nurture and cultivate over time.
Okay.
Yeah, but I predict more psychology classes in your future.
I
Mm-hmm.
agree 100%. I definitely, it's actually feel like this is kind of like foreshadowing me
Mm-hmm.
going into my doctoral program because I've been saying like it does not stop at my bachelor's, it does not stop at my master's. I am meant to hold a doctoral. I'm meant to be doctor, whatever my last name is at that time.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you're
And
Mm-hmm.
even
speaking
my
other things into existence.
I'm
Okay.
Right,
speaking
right,
so many things into existence.
exactly. These are
I'm
this is
a
this
firm
is a
believer.
multiple speaking.
Oh, yes, I'm
Yes.
telling you.
And it's within reach. All I have to do is trust the process. That's all I have to do
Okay.
is just trust the process.
Okay.
Mhm.
So let's talk
Okay.
about this process. When you first came to Hampton, you were in nursing and then you left. What happened? You left?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, so I left. I like to say I partied my way out of here, because that is
Okay.
part of the story. But in full transparency, I was assaulted off campus,
Mm-hmm.
and so that kind of what some people would say kind of derailed my trajectory, the plan that I had for my life. But looking back, I don't believe that. I do think that there were things that happened that made me leave because I just wasn't ready to be that far away from home, anyways. And a lot of people would think that that would be like a stopping point, right? And I really didn't deal with the trauma of what happened that night. I can still remember it very vividly, until
Mm-hmm.
years later. I didn't even vocalize it until years later.
Mm-hmm.
And so Once I left Hampton, I didn't stop school. I went back home to my community college and I finished my associate's degree in liberal arts. And again,
Mm-hmm.
majored in a lot of different things. And liberal studies was the only thing that really allowed me to really discover who I am through academics. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of like my journey from coming to Hampton to leaving.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I
that's
used to be
truly a
the director
commercial.
of liberal
Hmm.
studies,
And I would
and
say
that
that's a
is
commercial for
success.
liberal studies because
Yes,
you
indeed.
find your way through academics through liberal studies. Wow, that speaks
Hmm.
volumes.
I used
Thank
to
you,
be
thank
that
you.
director, and I would say that liberal studies comes from the Latin word liberate, meaning that freedom
Mm-hmm.
to be able to discover. And so that was
Hmm.
how I marketed it to, to you can do many different things to figure out that one
Mm-hmm.
thing that you like to do. And most of what Dr. Mason and I do is that as well. We don't do just one thing. And so
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
having the freedom to discover those aspects is great. So I'm happy about that, Danielle. So
Mm-hmm.
Thank
you
you.
went not happy in the reason why you separated from the
Hmm.
university because you needed to get away. You also needed time to process. You needed to be
Hmm.
closer to your family. You needed to feel safe. Not
Mm-hmm.
happy in that regard, but happy in the fact that you still maintain your push for education. You continue
Mm-hmm.
where you were. And then what else happened? Because you didn't just stop there.
Hmm. So at the age of like 21 or 22, I don't remember. I was laying in bed with my boo at the time, and he was
Mm-hmm.
talking about joining the military. And we had been rocking out for about 3 or 4 years at that point. He
Mm-hmm.
was one of my best friends, and he was talking about how, we really needed to get out. We needed to do something different. And I remember my tooth was hurting. I was like, man, I don't even have any benefits. I'm working, I'm making all this money, but I can't even afford to go to the dentist. And so when he mentioned the military, I never would have thought to ever join the military prior to him and I having that
Mm-hmm.
conversation. And so he was like, well, can you come with me to the recruiting station? And I was like, sure. So I went
Oh, he set you
and
up.
he
But
did.
and this
And
came from a toothache? From a toothache? I'm trying to get to
It
this.
must have been plenty
A good
hurtful, baby. Plenty
conversation,
hurtful.
a pretty
And
decent relationship, trust, and then just taking a chance. I think that that's really what it was because I didn't have a plan. I was just like, something else has to happen. My friends were getting pregnant. I was like, I don't want that for myself. I wasn't in school. I was making good money, but I was working all the time. And
mm-hmm.
I was like, I want something more from my life. And if I'm going to have that, I have to leave. I have to go somewhere. I have to take a chance on myself. And so I did. I joined the army, and it was
You
a
didn't
very
even pick
smooth
the Air
process.
Force?
So I tried to pick the Air Force, but I have a tattoo behind my ear, which is interesting because you can't see it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But the recruiter said, like, oh, we can't allow you to join the Air Force with that tattoo behind your ear, but you can take a piece of sandpaper and rub it behind your ear and put goat's milk on it and suck it. I was like, I'm not doing that.
It's
I'm
just
not
tooth.
doing
Was
that.
your tooth still hurting at the time? Because we ain't addressed the toothache yet. Because I want to figure how you got from the toothache to the recruiting office. That just that quick.
So the military has so many benefits, and it's like, you don't have to. You do pay for those benefits because you put your life on the line, and you really do.
Mm-hmm.
You really
Mm-hmm.
give up your entire identity as a person to have these benefits, like being able to go to the dentist. That sometimes, as veterans, sometimes we take that for granted. That in civilian life,
Mm-hmm.
everybody doesn't have that access
Mm-hmm.
or even those resources to even go and do that.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was like, I'm got all these things compiling. I think I was just at this transitionary moment in my mind where I was like, if I don't leave, something is going to happen. I don't know what it is, but it's probably not going to be something that I actually want. And the military was kind of like my way out. And a lot of people
Mm-hmm.
may feel conflicted about that, but I joined when Obama was president. So I
Mm-hmm.
was good. Things were so decent
You were feeling
at
like
the
you were
time.
doing your service, huh?
Yes, yes. And they paid good. They gave me the job I wanted, which was behavioral health, and that was the job that I actually shied away from. I was like, oh, I'll just do human resources or something. But that job wasn't available. Mental health was available though. And
Mm-hmm.
so I was like, okay, well, maybe this is a sign. maybe this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I took it and I ran with it. And I had a phenomenal career, not just due to the people that I helped, but how it developed me as a woman and as a person. And the reason why I can live such a free and not gonna say stress free, but more controlled lifestyle is because of the choices that I made in my 20s.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Because you took a chance and because you had a toothache.
Yes,
Right.
because I had a toothache, a great boo at the time, and I was like,
Mhm.
something has to give. And
Now, have you
Mm-hmm.
kept up with him? You said a great boo at the time, so he got you all the way in the army.
yes, so it's no, we did not keep up. We left at the exact same time. And it's funny
Mm-hmm.
because we weren't talking at that time, because he ended up getting another girl pregnant. That's tea for a whole nother day.
Oh.
Um,
And not this
Mm.
show.
Mm.
yes.
Mm. Listen, hold on.
So
We put it all on the table.
yeah,
'Cause
and
he
I'm
might
very
he might be
transparent
listening.
about it. But we did keep in contact a little bit through like our training and stuff. But for the most part, we kind of just went our separate ways. And as I look back, like he was just really just a catalyst for me. Like
Mhm.
we
That's right.
both
Mm-hmm.
really held each other down during those 4 years because
Mm-hmm.
we really needed each other. And then
Mhm.
when it was time for us to part, we separated, and he's doing great things, I'm doing great things, and I love
Mm-hmm.
that for us.
Mhm. That
Yes.
was his season, and
Yes.
hmm
that's one of the things we talk to people about from time to time. You know, it's you have to understand that there are people who are in your life for a season, and you have to understand
hmm
what that season means for you at that
hmm
particular time. And I'm sure God had a plan and put him in your life for a season because somebody else that might have been in your life for that season may not have told you your tooth hurt. Go to the dentist.
hmm
They wouldn't have said go to the military. You know.
They might have
yeah,
just told you to pull it out, you know?
yeah.
You'll
Right,
have
right.
insurance,
Go
Tie
to
so
a
string
free clinic
around.
down the street.
Yeah, tie a string around it and put it rest of it on the doorknob and slam the door. You know.
he gave you some steady advice and advice that he was willing obviously to take for himself. Um
hmm
and so yeah, the
hmm
timing of that was great. So
hmm
you're in the military, you're working with behavioral health.
hmm
How then do you get back to Hampton? Because how does that happen? Are you now no longer in the military? Are you retired out of the military?
So I am medically retired.
Okay.
So I went to like three different I made three different moves when I was in the military, and I worked in both what the military calls field environments, which is what you're pretty much preparing to deploy. I deployed to Afghanistan from 2014 to 2015, doing my job, a lot of outreach, a lot of consultations
hmm
with leadership, a lot of psychoeducation, a lot of unit needs assessments. We didn't do a lot of site testing out in country, but we did a lot of like mental health first aid and psychological debriefing
hmm
because it was you're at war,
You're at
like
war.
hmm
you're
hmm
at war,
And you're
and
at war too. So you're in the
yes,
environment with people who are at war, but you're rarely in that environment as well at the same
hmm
time. Yeah,
yes,
that's
and it
interesting.
was it's very interesting the dynamic of trying to provide the service to others that you also need for yourself
hmm
because you
Yeah.
tend to put yourself on the back burner then. But then after that, I came home and I got met my daughter's father. We did not have a. It was a very toxic relationship, and that relationship revealed a lot about me, and how I viewed myself, how I viewed the world, how I viewed relationships. But I got my daughter out of it, and
hmm
I'd like to say she literally saved my life, just by simply being herself because when I got out of the military, I got divorced. I got let go from the military because my body had broken down so badly that I couldn't even bend over to give my daughter a bath. And
hmm
then I left my church at the time, and this is all in the middle of COVID. So I lost what felt like my complete identity and who I was, all the things that validated who I thought I was. And then so when all those things were pretty much gone, it was almost like, well, who am I? What do I even want? What do I even like? What do I
hmm
need? What do I desire? I had no clue. So I fell into
It
a
was
really
like a
bad.
second toothache.
Yes,
hmm
except
hmm
like this one was going to take me out of here if I didn't
Yeah.
address this one.
Right.
And the
hmm
military couldn't fix this. That's the thing is
hmm
I couldn't run away from like I could leave home and when I had a toothache and join the military, but this one was like, no, you're gonna have to sit in this for a little bit. You're gonna have to
Mm-hmm.
figure
Mm-hmm.
out what's going on. What
Mm-hmm.
is going on with your life? Why have you made these choices that led you to where you are? They seem great on paper, but when you sit down at night, you're unsatisfied. Your hair is falling out. You're depressed. You're anxious all the time. You run yourself into the
Mm-hmm.
ground. Why are you doing this? And I remember I had this epiphany moment. It was June of 2020. And it was like either you are going to live or you are not.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to you to make that choice. And I said, well, I want to live. So whatever
Mm-hmm.
I got to do to live, I want to do that. And so that began my journey of really uncovering who I was, what I wanted, all the things that I had ignored, starting with childhood, leading to Hampton and the military. All these things had compounded over time, and I didn't realize that it was negatively impacting the decisions that I was making
Mm-hmm.
and the way that and the life that I was creating. And so when I have this little girl now, my baby, she's watching me, right? She's
Mm-hmm.
watching me live a life that I'm not even happy with, and now I have to do something about it. And so many years go by where I'm like, I'm never going back to Hampton. I'm never going to go back to school. I don't need it. I'm just going to start my business. But then I realized that it wasn't just the degree that meant something to me. It was what getting the degree, what doing what it took to get the degree actually meant for me. And if I
Mm-hmm.
was as resilient as I said, if I was as smart and as brilliant and as driven and ambitious and motivated as I kept telling myself that I was, why was I trying to convince myself that I didn't want this thing that I so desperately wanted? And so that's really what led me back to Hampton. I was like, by any means necessary. I don't know how many credits I need left. I have all these different credits, but coming back here was almost like, okay, let me go back. I mean, I moved here, so just so happened, not with the intention of coming back, but just
Wait a minute.
really,
You moved back to Hampton, not even
hmm
planning to go back to Hampton?
hmm
Okay, you can't
yeah,
hop over that. Like, how out of
Right.
all
Oh,
the
she
places,
done hopped over a whole lot of
you
stuff
hear
now.
what I
You
say? She
you
just
watching me
hopped up,
eat this
skipped, and
food, but I'm gonna
jumped.
tell you, I'm gonna come back to some stuff now.
Yeah, I'm like, she just, oh, and I just moved back to Hampton. What? I had,
yeah,
wait, what? Like, how, out of all you're out of the military, you're not from
hmm
Hampton. So out of all the
hmm
places, you come back to how?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was when I left the military, I had a beautiful house in San Antonio, Texas. That was my last duty station. And that was the first house me and my ex-husband had purchased together.
Mm-hmm.
And I was so proud of this moment that when we separated and I left the military and I really didn't have any community, any connection left to that space or to that city, I was really holding on to that house out of anger. And it took a
Mm-hmm.
lot of prayer, meditation, and self reflection to realize, like, why are you staying here again? Like, I remember I had a moment in my office, I had a little like prayer slash meditation corner where two people had said, like, when it's time for you to move, it's time for you to move. And I was like, no, I'm going to put roots here and whatnot. But then I remember I sat with the discomfort of the possibility of needing to move. And I kid you not, I heard, why are you actually staying? And I was like, I mean, well, my house, I love my house. And it was like, well, what else? Why else are you here? And that's when I realized, like, I had no reason to stay, none. And so I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, well, and I talk to God very often, or the Holy Spirit, whatever people like to say. And I was like, well, where are we going? I got my daughter's big old map that was in her room of the United States. I was like, well, where are we going? I need to live on the East Coast. Okay. I've already lived in Maryland. That's a little bit too expensive. I've already lived in North Carolina. I don't want to live there. I was like, Virginia. I can probably afford Virginia. And so I'm like, well, now where in Virginia am I going to go? I
Exactly.
need because I need access to a VA hospital, but I also need to make sure I'm not too far
Mm.
away from my daughter's father. I'm not too far away from my parents, and I want to be someplace that's populated that has some melanin in it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, Hampton. I was like, oh, okay. Then I was like, well, what am I going to do with all this stuff I just bought? Because now I have to move across country with just me and my daughter, and I'm doing this by myself in the middle of COVID. And I literally heard sell everything. And I was like, everything?
Mm.
Everything.
All right.
Sell everything. And I said, okay, let's do it. Again, this is again taking another chance on myself and just being like, all right,
Mm-hmm.
we're selling everything. So I sold everything on Facebook Marketplace. I put together a garage sale. And before you knew it, my house was on the market like 2 days. I got the perfect offer 2 days after that. And then I moved within 30 days.
Okay.
And while I was approved for a mortgage, I had no idea where I was going to live. I didn't have a place to go. I just knew I needed to get to Virginia.
Mm-hmm.
Took 4 days to move with me and my daughter, packed up my little Honda Civic, dropped her off at her dad's, and then I came to Hampton. And I was like, all right, I'm here. Where is my house? Where am I going? Where am I gonna live? And I found my house within 4 days of being here. I beat
Mm-hmm.
out 20 offers as a single retired woman, and I closed on that house within 30 days. So that's that's
Mm-hmm.
that's really how I made my way back here. And I like to give it step by step because it was nothing but God and the Holy Spirit to guide me through that process. And I
Mm-hmm.
had to trust my ability to hear instructions when everybody around me was telling me to do the exact opposite. Slow down, don't go, you're moving too fast. And I was like, no, it's
Mm-hmm.
like I gotta go. It's like I gotta go right now.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely a God thing when you're talking about moving across country in a Honda Civic. You can't pack up too much stuff
You
in a
can't do
Honda
that
Civic.
without Jesus. You cannot do that without Jesus. And you got to sell everything because there is no room in the end. There's no room in the
Literally
end. And
everything.
I,
Right, right. But I'm going to
so,
dial it back a second because you mentioned something earlier. A part of the thing, initially you said, "Hey, I partied my way right on out." And it's immediately I think out by five. Okay, but
Mhm.
the thing that you mentioned the trauma, you had a traumatic experience,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
so sometimes people run from those places, but it seems
Mhm.
like you were brought right back here
Mhm.
to be right in this place that took you away from it for a certain reason. You left because of a reason. And
Mhm.
so
Mhm.
as you're dealing with that and looking at this thing coming back to Hampton, how have you managed the issues, or have there been any issues that you've dealt with in terms of the trauma that you experienced that took you away from here?
So okay, I actually don't see the two as the same. I think
Okay.
that what happened to me, it happened to me off campus, and
Hmm.
although it happened to me while I was here, I had kind of separated my identity at Hampton with my identity with what happened to me.
Okay.
And it wasn't until I actually told a therapist, and I had gone through maybe one or two other therapists prior to this, it took me telling my therapist at the time, beautiful woman, I'll never forget her. She really helped me help pull me up out of a really dark space. I
Hmm.
told her a lot of things that had happened to me even prior to that.
Okay.
And so once I said it out loud and I stopped being quiet about it, I stopped hiding it in shame, I realized that although it happened to me while I was here, and it was one of the reasons why I left, me leaving was one of the best things that could have ever happened to me. What happened to me was traumatic, and I don't take away from that. And sometimes my therapist now tells me, tend to gloss over things a little bit, but I
Hmm.
have kind of separated myself from what has happened to me and realized that coming back is literally taking back what the devil tried to take away from me. I've always
That's.
known that I was meant to be a Hampton woman. My mom
Hmm.
was a Hampton
Hmm.
woman. My uncle was Dean Men here. He took the women's basketball team to the CIAA multiple times. I was meant to be a Hampton woman. And so being
Hmm.
back is like I'm reclaiming everything that I was already supposed to have. And sometimes
Hmm.
I feel like I'm like running on a treadmill and I can never move fast enough. And so I have to remind myself, like, girl, sit back. You're okay. You're
Hmm.
not wasting time. You're not behind. You're right where you're supposed to be. And so I really rest in like what happened to me happened to me. It sucked. It taught me a lot about understanding how trauma like that can really impact your life. But my
Hmm.
life is back on track now, and I'm not letting anybody ever again take me off my path.
Hmm. Hmm. I love it. I love it. And you got, sitting at the table, you guys can't see her face. You know what I mean? And I can tell you right now, it's a face of determination.
You better get out of her way, is all I have to tell you. All I
Right?
have to tell you is she is ready to clear the table.
I am, and it
Determined.
will be cleared.
Let me tell you, it's something about being victimized. There's people often respond in different ways, but there are some people who, once they've been a victim, they're determined to never be a victim again. And
Hmm.
they're hypersensitive in any
Hmm.
situation, not just sexual situations, but they're hypersensitive in any
Hmm.
situations in which people will try to put them in a victim circumstance. And
Hmm.
so, some people deal with it in traumatic ways and make increase the level of trauma, drinking, smoking, other kinds of
Hmm.
things that are not healthy. You said partying your way out of school, trying to find ways to
Hmm.
cover. And then there's other people who are able to think about it, go through
Hmm.
therapy,
Hmm.
have conversations, have these aha
Mhm,
moments, and try to
Hmm.
turn their trauma into more of a triumph.
Hmm.
mhm,
Hmm.
mhm.
So
And it is
kudos
a
for you.
challenge. Thank
Hmm.
you. And it is a challenge. I don't, this journey has been almost a decade just in this mindset, right? And I'm no longer hurt by those things. Those things were hurtful, but I'm no longer hurt
Mm.
by those things.
Hmm.
And I it takes sitting in the discomfort of that and being honest about what happened, because that wasn't the first time that I was sexually assaulted. I was sexually assaulted as a child, and then I was sexually harassed in the military. And so this has kind of been a not, I don't want to say a theme, but it has recurred. It has occurred several times in my life. And
Hmm.
so when I look back and I say, okay, I'm not blaming myself, but who was I in that moment? And
Hmm.
how can I build myself up now to a place to where I won't even tolerate that? Because there was a lot of stuff I just tolerated, a lot of things that I did out of conditioning, out
Hmm.
of just not making good decisions. And again, this is not blaming myself. This is just reflecting on situations that I have found myself in, even just outside of those circumstances. And I'm like,
Hmm.
Daniel, you did not have a good sense of self. You do not communicate how you feel. You lack a lot of boundaries. You don't stand up for yourself. You allow people to kind of do whatever they want. You want to please people. You want to make people happy, and you're willing to sacrifice yourself in order to do so. And so when I realized that it wasn't my fault, but I was responsible for fixing whatever created this cycle, that's really what I really began to take my power back. And it's uncomfortable.
Hmm.
Setting boundaries with people who are used to you being quiet, speaking up for yourself in rooms where you're used to being quiet, and really exercising that muscle of, okay, I'm choosing to be different. I'm choosing to be different. It may be a little raw right now, but I have to give myself another experience. I have to try. I have to keep refining this until I get it done. I can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and hoping for a different
Hmm.
result. That's really what has strengthened me. And those,
Hmm.
again, it's almost like this theme of always taking a chance on myself. I'm just going to try. Whatever happens, happens. I'm not responsible for the outcome. I'm only responsible for what it is that I'm doing. I hope that made sense.
It
Yeah.
does. And I tell you, it's empowering. And I hope the folks that are listening recognize the fact that you made conscious decisions. It was very intentional for you to
Mhm,
make those decisions. And that's one thing working with people in trauma, understanding that what happened to you is a
mhm.
big difference than who you are,
Yeah.
and not allowing those
Mhm,
things to shape you in that realm. And so
mhm,
that's very empowering. So thank you certainly for sharing that with our listeners, and I hope they're able to glean from that, with that intentionality.
mhm. Thank you. And it is hard to sit with just allowing yourself to feel the discomfort of realizing that something so traumatic has happened to you. That is very
Hmm.
uncomfortable.
Hmm. Hmm.
But the moment that you give yourself permission to feel that discomfort is like the moment where you're like, okay, I have felt it. These feelings are not going away just because I ignore
Hmm.
them.
Hmm.
These behaviors are not going away just because I act like they don't exist. Like, no, let me sit in this. Why am I so uncomfortable feeling this? This is what happened to me. And really taking your power back, because we're taught to, especially as Black women and Black people, to just get over it. Everything happens for a reason. The Lord makes a way. And it's like, that's cool and all, but I'm not in
Hmm.
that place right now. Right now, I need to
Hmm.
be a little uncomfortable, because shifts it happen when you're uncomfortable.
Hmm. Hmm. And people don't understand even being uncomfortable and understanding the feelings that are associated with that, whether it's anger, rage, whatever that may
Mm-hmm.
be. I tell people, Jesus turned the table over in the temple.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So understand those things. Those things happen. Don't
Yes.
try to, I'm blessed and highly favored. So
Yes.
no, if you're angry,
Are you
you're
depressed and
angry.
anxious?
Exactly.
The Bible tell you to
Yeah.
be angry and sin not. It's not our
Mm-hmm.
feelings that get us in trouble. It's what we do with them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and anger is such a complex emotion. It's like, well, what am I actually angry about? Maybe I have a right to be angry.
Mm-hmm.
Am I
Mm-hmm.
embarrassed? Am I humiliated? Am I hungry? Do I have a right to feel righteous indignation? Like we
Mm-hmm.
think about these like quote unquote negative emotions as something that we just need to avoid. And it's like, no, I feel like they're meant to be transitionary, right? You can
Mm-hmm.
feel guilt, but you can manage that. You can feel shame, but you can manage that. How are you
Mm-hmm.
transitioning yourself out of that? How are you unpacking that within yourself? Like, well, what am I so angry about? What am I actually feeling? Why is
Mm-hmm.
this triggering me? And
Right.
sometimes we don't want to have those deeper conversations because they lead to something a lot deeper that sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we're not ready to or equipped or have the capacity to actually
Mm-hmm.
unpack within ourselves.
Right. And just dealing with those feelings, because even looking at where you talk about, am I hurt? Am I this? Am I that? Whatever, whatever. I always talk about, working with folks dealing with these types of issues. Sometimes it's not anger that comes out. It's rage because you're trying to pack all
Mhm.
of those other emotions, the shame, the doubt, the hurt, and stuff like that. You're packing
Mhm.
those things in and not willing to
Mhm.
deal with them. But when they decide to come out, because of course you're trying to let out a little bit of feeling, but the way our brain
Mhm.
works, when you start to
Yeah.
let out a little bit of joy, all of those other
Mhm.
things are going to creep out. And if you've been packing those things out, what actually comes out is not necessarily anger, it's rage, because your
Mhm.
brain is
Yeah.
trying to put all of this stuff together. And rage will
Mhm.
look like anger
Mhm.
in the twinkling of an eye. It certainly will look like rage for people.
Mm-hmm, hmm.
Hmm.
And sometimes it's justified. It's like, yeah, you should feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
Now what are you going to do with it is the question. Now what
Correct.
are you going to do with it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yep.
You've done a great job in getting the tools necessary to deal with it to where you're able to spin it. Even the things that would people
Mm-hmm.
would naturally use adjectives to describe that would make things more challenging and harder to deal with because it's so much in a word and how we describe things. You even in discovering and defining your trauma in the show, you've been using different types of adjectives.
Mm-hmm.
They're lighter feeling, more positive, like your therapist said, glossing over things. That
Mm-hmm.
is your coping mechanism, your way
Mm-hmm.
of pushing and propelling. You force yourself forward, even when you
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
don't want to
Hmm.
necessarily jump. You're like, no, you're gonna jump. You're gonna
Mm-hmm.
jump. You're gonna jump right now, soldier. Soldier, this is what you're gonna
And
do.
some of them
You're gonna
are
do it right now.
calculated. And some of them are calculated. I always have to remember, like, I'm not impulsive, I'm decisive. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm a thinker. Like I think all the time. And some people say, we fix your face. I'm like, I'm deep in thought. I'm not even
Mm-hmm.
here present in the moment. I'm deep in thought. And so when I take these leaps and I'm propelling myself forward, oftentimes I'm prepared for whatever comes with it. And sometimes because I'm an overthinker and I overanalyze a lot, sometimes I try to prepare for obstacles that my anxiety is trying to tell me are up ahead. So, like, I like to say that fear is not the enemy. Fear is a tool that you can use to
Mm-hmm.
predetermine what obstacles may or may not come up and
Mm-hmm.
how to prepare for them in advance.
Mm-hmm.
And it can be scary to again think that, oh, fear is not my enemy. I'm like, no, allowing it to stop you is when it becomes
Mm-hmm.
an enemy. But what are you afraid of? Is it actually rational? Is it something that could actually happen, or is it something that you can actually plan for if it does happen, but still
Mm-hmm.
taking that leap regardless?
Well, see, oftentimes in therapy, I've asked people, I liken certain situations to getting into a pool. Are you the dip your toe in kind of person to see what it feels like?
Mm-hmm.
Or are you just a straight, I'm just going to jump right on in. We're going to cannonball this thing, Which is it? And that sets the tone and sets the stage sometimes, especially dealing with when you have to uncover some of the feelings and some of the things that you may have, you know, suppressed over the years that you just did not want to deal with because it's not easy,
Hmm.
you know.
Yeah.
And I truly when
It's
I
not
say,
easy.
yeah, I applaud you
Hmm.
because you've done the work and you're continuing to do the work. And that makes a big difference. You know, oftentimes people look at situations and they look at it from the outside and they think, oh, wow, she's great, she's doing good. But they don't see the moments that, you know, the quiet time and the downtime and the times that you really have to self-talk your way out of, you know,
Hmm.
some of the feelings and emotions that you're dealing with and all or whatever. And so the message to the people is certainly, hey, listen, it's possible, but you got to do the
Hmm.
work.
You have to do
Yes.
the work, and there's
Mm-hmm.
no shortcuts to that type of success. And
Mm-hmm.
so,
Hmm.
when I said in the beginning of the show, like you came back to finish what you started, that's what I
Hmm.
meant. There's no shortcuts to that success. And the race has never been given to the swift, but it's the one that
Hmm.
endures to the very end. And everybody's end is not the same ending. And so, sometimes people
Hmm.
get caught up in running the race of other people's race, or
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
they're in the whole wrong events. You're not even in the same
Yeah.
event.
Mm-hmm. I
You're
don't
no
even want to
longer in
run
control
my
of your life.
race. Not that, but I want to run my race. If you see me running, somebody chasing me. So I know I ain't gonna run somebody else's race.
You ain't running. I've known you long enough, bro. No, you're not running anywhere. You hear what I say? If you get to run it, you know how they say it with black people, when somebody runs, you get to run it. Let me tell you, if he gets to running, I'm definitely going to be running.
Right.
I'm not going to ask any questions. I am going to be running if he gets to running. Okay. Everybody needs to be running if he gets to running. Something, the world has come to an end.
What I say, when I move, you move just
Just
like
Yeah,
like
just
that.
like
that.
that.
Just like that. And we really operate like that for real. Fortunately and unfortunately.
Right. Exactly. So what's next for you, Danielle? What's
We can't
next?
even get to what's next because Danielle hasn't even told you what she's done. See, Danielle is definitely not going to be a one shower. We can't promise when she's coming back, but she's definitely not a one shower because she glossed over quite a bit. So, all these things led you to also write, Danielle. Like before the show ends,
Hmm.
we must
Mm-hmm.
discuss these things that how you've gotten to that point.
Hmm. Yeah, so one of the most powerful things that I started doing was writing. I was a writer when I was a kid. And
Mm-hmm.
so through my journey, I realized that I had lost my voice for a lot of different reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
so I started taking it back I published my first blog, which was all about what happened to me when I was assaulted as a child, not at Hampton, but as a child. And then
Mm-hmm.
I published it, and I was like, oh, this is scary. But then when I received so much feedback from other women
Mm-hmm.
who had experienced the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
even women in my family who I thought were really strong, I was like, oh, I might be onto something. And so a couple of years went by until I really got into understanding how powerful my voice is. And a friend told me a long time ago, you're like a trumpet. You know, I see you can go and you can speak to nations, you can shift rooms. She said, but it's up to you on whether or not you want to use your gift for good or for evil. And I was like, well, I want to use it for good. That's what I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
Mm-hmm.
you.
And so
Mm-hmm.
like you know, please, Lord, let your will be done. I want to be a vessel for you. And that was
Mm-hmm.
a process because I was, I had a lot of unpacking to do and a lot of things that were going on. But 2023 came around and I went through what I like to call like a really big spiritual awakening.
Mm-hmm.
And it had been building up for a while, but I wrote my first book called Becoming Her Again, Reclaim Your Best Self and Never Lose Her Again. And it is a 5-step process. It's a workbook, like a guided journal, and it really helps women be present in the moment with themselves.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the questions that are in there are meant to spark intentional thought and inspired action. Things like, what are you happy with? What are you unhappy with? What's your relationship with food and alcohol? How do you cope with stress? Like these very structured chapters are all about helping women uncover things that they oftentimes gloss over, for lack of better
Mm-hmm.
terms. And
What you
when
know
I
about.
wrote it, that
Mm-hmm.
I know about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's honestly the process that I took to being able to make better choices because our choices start with habits, starts with a mindset, but our choices lead to habits. And
Mm-hmm.
so as I was developing myself, I was like, okay, you had to get firm in the truth of what life was like, of what you're
Mm-hmm.
happy with, what you're not happy with, and be honest with yourself. Okay. The second chapter is all about your health and well being, checking in with your physical vessel, checking in with your mind, your body, your soul, and your spirit, and how you are actually feeling in your body and in your relationships and with the world around you. The third chapter is all about creating that dream life, right? Creating the vision, making it plain. And it really gives women a space to just write free, right? What do you want your life to feel like? What do you want your life to look like? What do you want more of in your life? And then chapter four is all about rediscovering who you already are, because most women aren't trying to become somebody new. They're just trying to become the person that they were before they started, before the world told them who they were supposed to be and how they were supposed to be. And then chapter five is all about taking all of that information and actually putting it into action and creating an action plan, whether it's determining what foods are working well for you and how to and what foods are not and how to replace it with something that's better for you. Maybe there is more self-care that you need to be doing. Maybe there is a relationship that needs to be adjusted or maybe, dismantled. It really just depends on the woman. But this book really was created for women to just sit with themselves and to focus on themselves. Nothing in the
Mm-hmm.
book is about anybody else unless we're getting them thinking about through the questions, getting them thinking about the relationship dynamics that they have that they may not talk about, right? Because we have a lot of unspoken
Mm-hmm.
dynamics in our community and in our friendships and relationships that we don't talk about. And so this was a space for women to slow down, focus in on themselves, and just about every woman that has come back to me, they'll either some of them email me, some of them I know, and they're like, "Girl, there are some questions in there that I was like, I had to push away from the table, and I had to literally just go and just think because I've never been asked this before. I've
Mm-hmm.
never even thought about this or like what my answer would be to this question." And so I always tell women 5 minutes a day. All you need is 5 minutes a day. And if you tell me you don't have 5 minutes a day, well, now we have a real problem because what do you mean you don't have 5 minutes for yourself every day? You're scrolling on social media, but it's really my baby. I co-created this with God, and it healed a part of me. I'll say that it healed a part of me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome. Awesome. And when I think about this as a part of the plan, you know,
Mhm.
what are you doing in terms of getting this message out there to people who can benefit from this?
So I have my own business. It's called Pretty Brown and Poppin'.
Mm-hmm.
And I have other smaller businesses that are underneath it. But I do a lot of speaking. So organizations will call me out to speak on whether it's self-care, burnout prevention, stress reduction, women's empowerment, sometimes motherhood. But I also create wellness programs for women and young girls to help them build confidence, reduce stress and anxiety, and really create a life it is that they love. And it's all
Mm-hmm.
based on the tenets of self awareness, emotional intelligence, stress reduction, not stress management, stress reduction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
There is a difference.
There is a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Building healthy relationships and conflict resolution, which is something I'm very passionate about right now. So that's
Mm-hmm.
that's that's the
Being
plan.
that you were in a whole war,
Mm-hmm.
so I can
Exactly.
imagine in
Yes.
conflict, yes, reduction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. This this
Yes.
this certainly sounds like a licensed therapist in the making and a doctor.
Yeah, I think she's been
That's
running
all I'm
from
gonna
her
say.
purpose. Yeah.
Right. That was the beginning of the conversation that we had, and
That
so
she's been running from when I called her a psych major and she was telling me that she was liberal studies and I was like, that sounds great. However,
right. I'm saying,
grad work. She did mention grad work going
okay.
Yes.
All
into
right. All
that
right.
program. So she's gonna have to bring it back around because you're working in the field, you're doing the work.
Yeah.
Now you have the letters, you need the letters to support you and the
Hmm.
knowledge, the further knowledge to help support your mission.
Yeah, this
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
amazing. I mean, just listening to the book alone, when I think about the clients that I have that can certainly benefit from the book, I've sat here and made a couple of notes because I'd certainly want to pass this along. How can they get the book?
It's available for individual or wholesale. So you can just email me at prettybrownandpoppin,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
PRETTYBROWNANDPOPPIN at gmail.com. And you can just say, hey, I heard you on the radio show. I'm interested in the workbook. I'd love to set up a time to hear about it, or, something along those lines. And I check my email every day. It comes to my phone because I'm a businesswoman. I'm a businesswoman. But yeah, and then I love what I do. I'm very passionate about what it is that I do. And I'm open to whatever God has for me. So I will take
Mm-hmm.
therapist, I will take doctor, I will take it to the Lord and say, where we going with this?
Listen, when she bumped into me prior to class, she showed up early to class, to my
Mm-hmm.
office, early to my office. And I was okay, this is different. Early,
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
showing up
I'm
early to
usually
my
early.
office. She was eager. The semester had just ended, and here we are in summer classes, and she was eager. I said, okay, I like eager. I can
Mm-hmm.
do
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
something with this. And then as I got to know a little bit more about, we didn't even really talk a lot about our parenting, but as I got to know a little bit more
Mm-hmm.
about her, I knew that it was something that our listeners could
Mm-hmm.
benefit from, because education doesn't just end when you're 21 or 22. We're
Mm-hmm.
in the business of a lifetime of education, and there's no limit
Mhm.
to when you can come back and finish what you started, or do something totally different but get started. And so I want
Mhm.
to encourage people that
Mm-hmm.
it's not an age thing. And even the trauma, like when we talked, she didn't share with me that it was trauma that separated her from the university initially.
Mm-hmm.
um, but that's even better in the fact that you persevered, and
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
you came back with a plan. It wasn't fully laid out, but it was laid out before you had it. You didn't even know it was laid out. It was purpose along that
Yeah.
line.
Mm-hmm.
So when I
Yeah.
offered her the opportunity to brunch with us, she didn't even hesitate. She
Mm-hmm.
jumped. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a lot to say
Mhm.
that, you don't have to get ready if you stay ready.
Right.
Mhm.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
And this is real life. This is real
mm-hmm.
life. When you live it, it's easy for you to talk about it. It's easy for you to unpack it and to even just communicate it to other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you know what comes to mind? Dr. Norwood has that women's conference
I was thinking that
in
too, bro.
March. So
Let me
we'll
write
have to
that down.
we'll certainly
That
have to
twin knowledge. We'll
network
have to,
and put up with
yeah.
Dr. Norwood because like I said, I'm just thinking of who all could benefit from this and hearing this message,
Mhm.
and I know that's certainly a place where, having had Dr. Norwood on the show, but just knowing what they have done in that workshop, in that conference for women, I certainly think there are women that could benefit from this experience.
Yeah, I would
Absolutely.
love that. I would love that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I'm writing it down right now.
mm-hmm. Exactly. Exactly. What was it called? Excel. What was it? What was it?
Excel. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think that's what it was called. Yeah. And they, just hearing about it. But after we've had Dr. Norwood on the show talking about the conference, I've had a couple of women that actually attended and talked about it and said they heard about it from the
From the
show.
show.
Uh-huh. And
Mhm.
they went ahead and they attended the conference and they said they were truly blessed by the experience. Definitely, they were blessed by the experience. So tell us, what are some things that because we always like for our guests to get some takeaways,
Mhm.
and so what would be some takeaways that you would offer to some of our listeners, especially some of our young ladies who may be listening to the show, just in terms of some of the young ladies that may be in college right now, but then some people who have not gone to college or dropped out of college. What are some takeaways that you would share? Our nuggets. We always talk about our little nuggets that we give.
Oh, I love that. So many things come to mind, but I think that knowledge of self is extremely important. When we go off into the world and we take all these things that our parents taught us and all the things our experiences have taught us, there is still a layer of us that is yet to be uncovered. And
Mhm.
we should, although we should always pursue our goals, our number one goal should be to make sure that our goals that we're pursuing are coming from a place of self, not expectations of our parents and things like that. That sets a
Mhm.
foundation for our early years. But the older that we get, the more that we start to identify our own values, our own beliefs, our own morals, our own
Mhm.
standards of behavior, and of our choices, right? And then I also say that no matter where life takes you, keep going.
Mm-hmm.
It may seem like you've been knocked off track. It may seem like life has derailed, that life has somehow, erupted into chaos. So many beautiful things come after chaos. There's always a
Mm-hmm.
rainbow after the storm. There is always a story after a test, after a trial and a tribulation. And that is what is going to strengthen you. The things that we feel like are going to break us are actually here to make us. And if we just continue through the process of getting to know ourselves, understanding what life has for us, and just allowing ourselves to continue to move forward, because sometimes we hold ourselves back. We have to allow ourselves to keep moving forward so that no matter what happens, we know that we're still moving forward. I hope that makes sense.
It
Yes,
made
it
plenty
does.
of sense.
Yes, it did.
I say
So,
that a lot.
It made plenty of sense.
well, I tell you, we've had a time at the table today, and so thank you, Danielle, for joining us here for Sunday Brunch. It has been great. So I know our listeners have truly enjoyed this. So, but I am Dr. Richard Mason.
I'm Dr. Tamara Williams.
Join us next week right back here at the table at WHOV Smooth 88.1 for the most delicious hour in radio.
The essence of HU.
Keep your fork.
Someday we'll be able to measure the power of words. I think they are things. I think they get on the walls. They get in your wallpaper. They get in your rugs, in your upholstery, in your clothes, and finally into you.
Thank you for joining us at the table.
Tune in next Sunday at 1 p.m. for more delicious topical recipes for life on the Sunday Brunch.
On Smooth 88.1 WHOV.